A-level chemistry is hard, challenging, and mentally stimulating, but it's not impossible. Any hard-working student can get an A or even an A star with solid knowledge of the content and proper exam technique and practice. Before I start, I would just like to say, try to get out of the GCSE mindset. I mean, A-level is a whole other platform, a whole other level, and the way you revise at GCSE or the content learned at GCSEs may need to be scrapped or improved, because an A star at GCSE does not guarantee you an A at A-level, doesn't even guarantee you a B. So how to achieve an A in A-level chemistry? Tip number 1, use the specification as your checklist. You've probably heard this loads of times. It literally has all you need to know, so use it consistently throughout your AS and A-level years, and ensure that you understand every single point on that piece of document. Don't rely 100% on your teachers at school or even your textbooks to provide all the information that you need to know. They're there to support you, but chances are there won't be enough time to go over the entire specification in class in sufficient detail. My teachers were really good in that they gave us a list of what we would be learning, but the mistake I made in AS was that I didn't use the specification until exam period. And then I looked through it and I realized that there were things that we had to know, but I didn't realize we had to know it, but they were right there in the specification. Don't take anything for granted. A small line on that specification could easily come up as a big mark question that requires application of knowledge. So you need to know everything on the spec and understand the content. Highlight the parts that you know and you feel confident with, and circle the parts that you're not so confident with, and put in more time to work on those parts. Tip number 2, make effective revision notes, the ones that you will actually go through. I know a couple of people in my year just read through the textbooks and did past papers alongside. I personally don't think this is effective. You should be making notes, because it's the process of making notes that allows the information to be retained by our brains. Again, I also saw many people writing out the textbooks onto paper, which is basically reprinting out the textbooks in their own handwriting. I was guilty of this, and this was largely ineffective for me at AS. I'd strongly encourage you to do whatever works for you. Flashcards, written notes, mind maps, just as long as there's something there which you can refer to and try to visualize in your exam. I mean, mind maps can be really effective for important steps and visualizing synthetic reactions. If you can recreate something like this from memory, then you're good to go. Comparing the notes I made from year 12 to those I made in year 13, you can see a huge difference in the sense that it's more interactive for me, and it's a lot easier for me to retain and understand the information, hence why I did a lot better at A2 than at AS. If you're struggling to understand a concept or a reaction, then my third tip would be to watch YouTube videos. YouTube was really effective in helping me understand hard topics and making connections with different aspects of my revision. I found that it just tied things together. So just go on YouTube and search up the concept you want to know more about, and maybe your exam board. There are loads of different videos out there that explain different things. I especially used this guy. He was like a third A-level teacher to me, even though I did Edexcel and he mainly does AQA. I found it to be a really useful resource. For example, on a single bus journey to school, watching one of these videos, I would be able to understand something like nucleophilic substitution, which is also an effective use of time. Tip number 4, do past papers. They're hands down one of the most effective ways of getting a grade at A-level, and the way you use them could be the difference between an A and a B at A-level, because I found that they're only effective if you do them with enough time, where you're at a stage where you know most of the content, you can answer questions, and you have enough time to evaluate your mistakes. And to be honest, this can be really hard to do at A-level, because you don't want to waste your past papers. You need enough time to go over your notes and then come back to do past papers, or do past papers whilst you're going over your notes. Either way, make sure you pace yourself with these past papers. For example, find past papers which date back to as far back as you can find them. So if you find, say, 12 past papers, then leave yourself 6 weeks before your exams and just do 2 every week until your exams, using the time you have to cut down on silly mistakes with practice and knowing how to do every single calculation question that they may throw at you. I use this website called Physics and Maths Tutor. Don't be fooled by the name. They also have chemistry past papers and biology past papers, and on here you can find a compilation of past paper questions for each topic. So a good idea would be to make notes on a topic, revise that topic, and then do all the past papers that are available for that topic. And you find that examiners repeat questions, so if you made a mistake, find out where you went wrong, practice it, and never get that question wrong again. Tip number 5, Learn the key principles and just apply your knowledge. Imagine being asked to analyze a molecule like this in your exam when you've only learned carbon 1 to 5 of all the functional groups. An unprepared student would panic. My point is, memorization is good, but don't try to memorize all the structures that could possibly come up. You don't have enough time and it's just not effective, but rather understand key principles, properties, reactions, and apply that knowledge. So when you get a question which you've never seen before with a weird, strange molecule, you can recognize the benzene ring, the alcohol or the carbonyl group, and therefore realize that it must react in a certain way, and just work your way through the question. And for the non-organic chemistry, remember to practice your calculations. Another thing I want to mention is this book. I didn't buy it because my teacher would just photocopy pages from this book for us to work through, but it's full of calculations, and if you're struggling, this is something you could consider. After you've understood a few topics from the book, use revision guides, because they're really good at simplifying content that the book tends to overcomplicate. Most times, they just tell you what you need to know. And the way that it's structured could be what you need to write in your exam paper. I use the CGP revision guide for Edexcel. My friend also gave me this OCR revision guide, which I referred back to and tried to answer some of the questions that were in the guide. But the revision guides which I really used for A2 were these online revision guides. I don't know who made these, but kudos to them because they're really good. What I did was I would just print these out and use it alongside my book to make notes. Okay, my last tip. This is just in general for A-level chemistry, but don't compare yourself to others. Be very organized and use your time effectively. And because it's changed to where you have to take your exams at the end of the 2 years, it's going to be intense, but make sure you stay on top of your game throughout. It's so easy to compare yourself to those who are doing better than you and feel inferior, or those who are doing less better than you and get really complacent. Just focus on getting good grades, stay disciplined, stay organized, have a folder for every unit that you do. Don't leave your past papers lying about or little pieces of notes floating around in the sixth form centre. I speak from experience because it becomes a pain to revise in May or April when you don't have yourself together. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe.